This is the Eras Tour. This is the Dairy Eras Tour. Come and smell our dairy area.
I mean, it's not a real Taylor Swift party unless you're talking about a dairy party, right? What other podcast are you going to get that kind of comparison? Hey, everybody. Tim Boehm here, Spectrum News political anchor. Normally, the Tying It Together with Tim Boehm podcast once a week, but we are doing front porch politics across America this week, giving you a little update every single day. We are on a trek from New York City to Los Angeles, traveling by car, electric car, and going to battleground states along the way to talk about the election. We're talking Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, and between. This show focuses on talking everyday Americans and communities rather than just candidates and institutions. There's a lot of that already, but we want to talk about everyday Americans. And boy, did we do that today. We were in Wisconsin earlier today. We just arrived in St. Louis. If you're watching this, I want to give you a quick view of where we are this evening, as my hotel room is right in downtown St. Louis. You can see that is the highway, and there's a casino right over there. That's actually right over there, the old dome where the St. Louis Rams used to play before they were moved to Los Angeles, which I'm sure is still a very sore subject here in the city of St. Louis. Now, I last was in St. Louis in 2005. I was here in the dome when the UNC Tar Heels beat Illinois to win the college basketball national championship. It was a great time, and by the way, so maybe that's a good omen for this year for the Tar Heels. If you're a Tar Heel fan, that they might win again. We'll have to see. It's been an interesting travel day. We've noticed a lot of the Midwest here, traveling through Illinois and parts of Indiana, even parts of Wisconsin, and down on into Missouri. A lot of casinos, a lot of cannabis places and signs, and also a lot of windmills. So this is just something we have observed from the highway, so kind of interesting. And one other thing we've noticed quite a bit, by the way, is signs. And this is controversial among political consultants. You know, signs mean nothing, but people love to have them in the yard. It means they support somebody. But we have seen way more Trump signs across our travels so far. And a lot of it is, can be rural areas and whatnot. But it is a lot more Trump signs out there in the world. All right, so we are going by electric vehicle across the country if you're just joining us. So here's the stats that we had for today. We went 381 miles from Madison, Wisconsin to St. Louis. We charged up the car 3 separate times. Combined time, that took 1 hour and 18 minutes of charging today along our trip. I was $47.73 in charging fees. And interesting, one of those charges was a top off. So we were at a point where we knew we'd have to stop, and so it wasn't worth it to go all the way to 100% and waste time. We knew we had enough charge to get to the next location, so we saved time by not charging it to 100%. All right, so earlier today, we were in Madison. If you listened or watched this yesterday, we were just west of Madison at a dairy farm. Farming's so important in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania too, but in Wisconsin, particularly dairy farm. It's a $100 billion industry, agriculture. About 46% of that, 46 billion, is dairy farming. So it's a huge deal, but they are struggling some. So this morning, it just happens to be that the World Dairy Expo is taking place in Madison as well. I mean, this is a huge event. That's where we're joking about Taylor Swift, concert for the dairy industry, because it is such a huge deal. I mean, this is worldwide. We heard as many people speaking foreign languages as we walked by as we heard English. And there's an arena with a cow show or cattle show that goes on every day. There's tractor displays. It's fascinating. And we wanted to talk about the industry some. And it has struggled, we should say. Prices have been down for about a decade or so, while price for labor, land, feed, all that kind of stuff has continued to go up. And a lot of farmers are either going out of business or choosing to give it up, which is a big deal in this country. People take for granted the food that comes on their table, or the glass of milk that they get, or the cheese that they get. So we talked to Justin McNaney. He is with the Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation. We talked with him at the Farm Bureau. We talked to the farmer yesterday. If you listen, you should go back and listen to that, because it was a really cool conversation with him. But we talked about, how the farm industry is sort of neglected or underrated or not paid attention to enough by just everyday people. Take a listen.
The other day I was talking to somebody and they said, well, I don't know what farmers' problem is. Why don't they just go to the grocery store and buy their food there? There's a disconnect. People need to know where their food is coming from, and the grocery stores are trying. They're trying to make sure that people know that their food comes from farms. So when you're passing a cornfield, or you're passing a farmer who's going from his field to his farmhouse on the road, and you're saying, "Oh, this guy, I'm stuck behind a tractor." That guy's going to work. That guy's growing your food. That guy's growing your fuel. That guy's growing the fiber that clothes this country. And it's important to remember that they have a very important job. It's not only just about feeding, fueling, and clothing America. It's about making sure that we have the national security so that we can feed ourselves.
And then we also talked about it from a political perspective. He does a lot of that with lawmakers here in Wisconsin, but also Congress members. And of course, we have the day that we were in Wisconsin, Kamala Harris was there. Of course, most of these candidates are going to bigger cities and bigger areas. They want more people to come. They're not going to go, to an individual farm, most likely. But politics plays a big role in these folks' lives. And here's a little taste of what Jason had to say about the politics of it all.
I'll say this, there's some really great legislators who know a lot about agriculture. A lot of them have, a few of them have agricultural backgrounds. But as you're seeing more and more legislators coming out of, coming from backgrounds from white-collar jobs or coming from community organizations, that connection to the farm is growing. You go back 10 years and you had legislators who were one or maybe two generations off farm, and now it's 2, 3, 4, and there's not that ag background that people have. And they're getting information from social media, they're getting information from documentaries that they're watching, and it's up to agriculture to change that narrative. We want people to know that in the state of Wisconsin, we're probably one of the world leaders in on-farm conservation. Our dairy survey just came out last week, and it said 57% of dairy farmers are doing some form of on-farm conservation now.
But make no mistake, every one of these farmers is important to these candidates. I mean, here's the deal in Wisconsin. I mean, it is about as purple as it can get. It's about as important as any state can get. It's been less than 1% separating the candidates for president the last 2 cycles, and it's flipped. Donald Trump won in 2016, Joe Biden won in 2020. So every eye is on the state. Every farmer matters to these candidates, of course. Now, I will say, as we left, we helped the economy. I got a little cheese curds. I had to get some. I grew up outside of Minneapolis, and I love cheese curds. If they're really fresh, they'll squeak. And it's a unique sensation, but it's amazing. And so I missed that, and I was glad to get some on the way out of town. Speaking of food, we're hoping to get a sit-down dinner here shortly. We have not had a sit-down dinner since we have been on the road. It's a 4th night now. It's just there's a lot of work to do. We got a lot of roads to get to and a lot of stories to tell, and so we're hoping to do that tonight. But snacks so far that have been big in our car. I've probably had 7,000 Diet Pepsis. Caffeine helps. White cheddar popcorn, Milk Duds even, gummy bears. I'm not normally a candy person, but it's just something to pass the time. And, of course, we had cheese curds today. In St. Louis, we hope to get some of them St. Louis ribs. Those are real famous, and we look forward to that as well. So from here, we will travel from St. Louis. We're going to talk to some people around the Arch tomorrow. There's an abortion initiative on the ballot for Missouri voters. So that's obviously a big deal here in Missouri. We're going to talk about that some. From here, we head to Oklahoma City, and then we're going to head to Albuquerque. And there's the Hot Air Balloon Festival, the International Air Balloon Fiesta. I mean, it is phenomenal. Google it if you haven't seen pictures. We're going to be there hopefully to get up in one. We're going to watch them go up, and it draws in tens of thousands of people. So we're going to talk to folks about their idea of where this country is and where they think it should go. What a great place to do it because there's so many people, right? And tourism's a big deal for that festival. From there, we're going to head over to Arizona, talk about some issues there, probably in Flagstaff area because that helps get us. We got to be careful where the charges are and how far we go and how much we can go in a day because, as you heard earlier, we're adding between an hour and 15, an hour and a half probably to every day with the charging. And then we're going to head to Vegas, hopefully going to talk about election security and some of the challenges that election officials have faced, not only in Nevada but across the country. And then we're going to end up at the Santa Monica Pier and hopefully on time to finish this incredible trip that we've had. We're halfway through essentially. We're right in the heartland of America, the middle of the country with St. Louis. I will tell you, people are very concerned about the dissension, the divisiveness. but we've met nothing but nice people. So there's this huge disconnect between what people want and what they're doing or seeing online on TV, or maybe even conversations in real life. Somehow we have to find a way to get past that and figure out what that disconnect is, because we've dealt with nothing but super nice people. And it's amazing when you go across the country. You can close your eyes, especially when in interstates, and open up, and more of this country is alike than it is different. And we need to remember that as Americans. So continue to follow along. If you want to see behind the scenes videos, pictures, all that, go to the Spectrum News app, download it, check out Front Porch Politics across America, and you'll see it all. You've been listening to Tying It Together with Tim Boehm, a Spectrum News One production, produced and hosted by me with a huge assist from our digital team. Holler at me if you got questions, comments, concerns, want to hear more about this trip, got questions about driving or charging an EV, just holler at me. In the meantime, be well, be kind. If you can, buy local. We'll probably talk to you tomorrow.